everyone, this is Delia Melody. So you might notice that I'm looking a little bit spookier than usual today. That's because it's Halloween! Or October, but really, same thing. Halloween. Okay, so whether or not you celebrate all 31 days of this magnificent holiday, it's the time of year when people are all out and about looking to buy costumes. There are scary costumes, funny costumes, and costumes in incredibly poor taste. If you think you know where this is going, you're probably at least part right. Yep, of course, I'm going to talk to you today about the Caitlyn Jenner costume, and why no one should wear it. Now, if you're watching this video and you're one of the people who was interested in wearing the Caitlyn Jenner costume, I'm pretty sure that you've already heard tons of people talking about how offensive and transphobic it is. And you know what? I'm not going to waste your valuable time today talking about that. Instead, I'm going to tackle the reason everyone seems to be missing. The one most important reason of all that you should not be caught dead in this Halloween costume. Caught dead. It's lame. That's right, you heard me. The Caitlyn Jenner Halloween costume is absolutely lame. I mean, stop and think about it. This is Halloween, for crying out loud. This is the one night of the year that you get free license to be as macabre and morbid as you want and scare the living shit out of people. Why would you waste that opportunity on something as lame as a Caitlyn Jenner costume? Okay, fine. I get it. You want to be a trans woman for Halloween. And you know what? I'm not going to stop you. But if you're going to do it, I'm going to do my best to make damn sure you do it right. So let's keep this short and sweet and get right to the point. If you're going to dress as a trans woman for Halloween, you need to dress as a trans murder victim. It's macabre, it's morbid, it's literally horrifying. It's the kind of thing that gives trans women like me nightmares every single night. Pound for pound, it just doesn't get much more gruesome and horrifying than this. Now I know what you're thinking. Trans murder victims? No one's ever heard of them. And you're absolutely right. Because when we're murdered, our deaths are largely ignored. The victims are misgendered. Our identities are erased. You'll never hear about it on the national news, and the only way you'll hear about it on your local news is if you're lucky enough to have a trans advocacy group in your area working to make sure that this kind of shit isn't happening. I mean, if you want your costume to be unique, that's a plus. You'll really be able to take pride when people guess who you are in spite of having such an obscure costume. And since at least 23 transgender women have been murdered just this year in the United States that we know about, you'll be in good company. I know though, how can you really make sure that you nail this look so that people will know without a doubt who you are? I mean, your choice of clothing and makeup could do a good job at conveying the idea that you're a trans woman, but how do you really stick it in that you're a trans murder victim, and not just any murder victim? Well, let's get down to the basics. In spite of the fact that these women's murderers are often acquitted, seen as victims themselves, or even never brought up on charges, there are a few key signs that easily mark any murder of a transgender woman as a hate crime. Those signs obviously vary case to case, but the one thing they all have in common is they are brutal. They are excessively vicious. We are talking bloodied, bruised faces beaten into unrecognizability before being killed. If you really want to go all out, you could draw inspiration from some of the victims who have had 2 to 3 gunshots to the face. Bodies riddled with stab wounds, full disfigurement and ripped off limbs. If you really want to go the extra mile, you can make it look like you've been hidden in a dumpster or a ditch or a field for weeks, months, even years. Grab a natural hair wig and burn parts of it to give yourself that beautiful stench of charred flesh. Or even draw inspiration from the trans woman who was murdered by her husband and then cooked into a stew in Australia. I know what you're thinking, this kind of effort is gonna take some money. I mean, you might even be thinking about how so many of these trans women are just assumed to be sex workers by people, in spite of the fact that most of them were not. And you might be thinking, damn, where am I going to get all the money for those slutty hooker clothes? The good news is, you don't have to worry about that. Because victim blaming and slut shaming happens to trans murder victims no matter what they were wearing or whether or not they had ever been sex workers. You might have also realized by this point that with as gruesome and disgusting as these murders are, you're probably going to need a lot of fake blood. Well, friend, I've got great news for you. Because if you're the kind of person who would dress up as Caitlyn Jenner or any other transgender woman as a Halloween costume, you've luckily already got our blood on your hands, because it's the kind of sneaky, casual transphobia that people like you perpetuate. Intentional misgendering, use of transphobic slurs, transphobic humor, verbal degradation and dehumanization of transgender people, stares, whispers, assumptions, and endless perpetuation of demonstratably false and outdated myths that transgender people are perverts or predators or insane. All of that disgusting, innocent behavior. Those are the things that allow institutionalized transphobia to continue to exist in this world. Those are the reasons why transgender youths are bullied. Those are the reasons we spend our entire lives afraid and ashamed of who we are. Those are the reasons why transgender people are rejected by their friends and families when they come out. Those are the reasons why transgender people are denied employment, housing, healthcare, and even access to public facilities. Those are the reasons why everyone is afraid of the million transgender women across the United States that walk into a public restroom because they just have to pee. The trans women who are honestly more afraid of everyone in either restroom than you are of them. And in the end, it's those myths, lies, jokes, microaggressions, problematic behaviors. Every act of casual transphobia, no matter how small it might seem to you, is an act of violence against every transgender person alive. It doesn't matter if you're 3 tables away and you thought we couldn't hear you. It doesn't matter if it was a joke. These are the things that make society feel like it's okay to keep acting like we're less than human. These are the reasons that 48 states in this supposedly modern country think that finding out someone is trans is a just reason to have a mental breakdown and murder them. This kind of casual transphobia is the very reason why an unfathomably ridiculous number of transgender women are murdered every year by family members, friends, and romantic partners. And why countless more transgender men and women choose to take their own lives every year. It's the reason why we as a community have to set aside at least one day every year just to remember all of the transgender individuals who have lost their lives to murder or suicide inspired by the transphobia that still is allowed to run rampant in this nation. And yes, a lot of people do these things without ever even realizing how harmful they are. I would say 75 to 90% of the time casual transphobia happens, it is coming from people who did not know better. Which is why education and awareness are so important. You know, I've learned personally the hard way a lot of times in my life that your intentions or lack of intentions don't change how horrible the consequences of your actions could possibly be. Even if you didn't mean it, it was harmful. But that's okay, because you can learn, you can move forward, you can do better. But all we can do is try to educate and inform you. It's up to you to take that information and use it to become a better person and advocate for your brothers and sisters and help us move to a better world where we will no longer have to wake up every day wondering when we're going to be next. So now that I hope I made my point, I have one question for you. Do you still want to be a trans woman for Halloween this year? It's a trick question. There's only one right answer. And that's the answer I hope you'll pick, because frankly, we're running out of blood for you to use. As always, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, be yourself.